Hello, Squirrel Tribe. So here's my question for you to start off with. Do you know who Tom Selleck is? Or we could call him Magnum PI. We can call him, I don't remember his name, from 3 Men and a Baby and 3 Men and a Little Lady. I know it was him, Steve Guttenberg, and Ted Danson. But I can't remember like their characters' names or whatever. But those were all really good movies. Well, it turns out, in case anybody was curious, that Mr. Magnum PI, Tom Selleck himself, is not a fan of the Biden administration, just based off this one quote that I have from Mr. Mustache himself. Also, if you ever saw him as Monica Geller's boyfriend on Friends, I liked his role in that too. But here is Mr. Tom Selleck. We love him. When I was younger, I had a huge crush on Mr. Magnum PI. Despite the short shorts, that mustache, it did it for me. I don't know. But anyway, that's not the point to any of this. So according to this, Hollywood icon Tom Selleck just said, "I refuse to debate gun control with anyone who believes men can have babies." I mean, hello. Yes. Why would you have a serious conversation about anything with anybody who thinks that men can have babies, that men have a uterus, and that men can do any of these things that only women can do, right? There's no point in that. It's like having a conversation with a wall. It can't talk back. There's no point, whatever else, right? So this whole quote from Tom Selleck, I thought was absolutely lovely, just because it shows that he has common sense. A lot of actors in Hollywood, and I'm sure you will agree with me, don't really have that much common sense, and most of them want to jump on whatever I was going to say gravy train, but that's not it. But whatever the trending topic train is. Let's think of Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union, former Miami basketball player and Miami Heat basketball player. And then Gabrielle Union was in Bad Boys 2 and some other stuff. I think she was in Bring It On, bunch of movies, right? And they have Dwayne Wade has a son named, I think his name is Zaire, who a year or two ago decided that he wanted to be she. And so as parents, they decided to stand behind their son who wants to transition to a girl. But what's crazy to me is that they stood behind the child on it, but then they decided to just use him, her, however y'all want to phrase this, as a way to keep their names in the headlines. They put the child in the headlines all the time, pictures of this kid, whatever else, and dressed up as a girl and all this other stuff. And my very first thought is, those are the kind of parents that need to be looked at by Child Protective Services. And I don't really like CPS, Child Protective Services. I feel like they don't do the job they're supposed to do. They F things up more than they help. A lot of people out there will agree with that. But to have parents who happen to be in the public eye decide that they want to use their child as a way to stay relevant or get their names in the tabloids on this trending, push from the left is, in my opinion, really shitty parenting, right? So I see this thing from Tom Selleck and I'm like, that's great. And then I go back to the good old World Wide Web, internet, whatever, and I start just looking at random stuff, and I come across this headline, all right? The New York Times, all right? Breaking news, the Supreme Court agreed to decide, y'all ready? Whether a Tennessee law that bans certain medical care for transgender minors violates the Constitution. It's the first time the court will weigh in on the issue of medical care for transgender youth. Let me be the very first one to say that I would pretty much bet everything I have ever owned or loved or anything on the fact that transgenderism is not in our Constitution. In case anybody is confused on it, go read it, go peruse it. You'd have to know how to read cursive, which they don't teach anymore. They don't want future children to know how to read the Constitution, what founded this country, because then they would be able to go, oh wait, what we're doing here does not make sense. What we're doing here is not right. I digress, whole different topic. But transgenderism is not in the Constitution. All right. It is, I believe, in a couple places of the Bible, but that's not the point either. And it's not exactly labeled that. Y'all know what I'm saying. So I do a little bit more looking and I come across this, let me see if I can pull this up. This here from the Los Angeles Times. All right. Supreme Court will decide if states may prohibit hormones for transgender teens. I have an issue with a lot of these things. We've talked about it before. I'm not quiet about how I feel about these things. I made a video yesterday. If you were here before SquirrelTribe and saw the video yesterday, thank you also for all the comments you guys left. And I made a comment in there regarding Caitlyn Jenner, who used to be if anybody remembers, Bruce Jenner, a gold medal Olympian? Nah, that's the right word. Olympian on the cover of Wheaties boxes, you know. And then, bless his heart, he got married to, what's her name? The Kardashian lady, the mom, Kris Jenner, right? Yeah, Kris Jenner, which technically she was a Kardashian before that, but Kris Jenner got married to her, ended up on a TV show with all of the daughters, who the only reason why they were famous, one, was because of their father, and two, because Kim Kardashian decided that sex tapes with her boyfriend at the time was the way to go, and then her mom leaked it on purpose so that they could be famous, right? I mean, internet famous or porn famous. And then all the daughters have kind of jumped on board with ways to be in the limelight. And they went the route of TV shows and stuff like that. And then you have all these young girls looking at Kardashians thinking that's the goal for life, even though that goal for life cost them plenty of money to change from what they used to look like to what they look like now. If anybody were to look through family albums of them before they had all that plastic surgery, nobody would know who they are. Not a single one looks like they used to, except maybe Kourtney. Kourtney Kardashian is the only one who looks the same. The rest of them, you would never know who they are, right? That's not the point. So Bruce Jenner marries Kris Kardashian, who's then Kris Jenner, and gets in this TV show. And all of a sudden, they start to, you know, split up, and you see Bruce Jenner growing his hair out, which was like the first thing. I remember looking at it going, why? He's looking real feminine today. And I don't know. I mean, some people like the full metrosexual look. Some people like guys who look like girls or who are soft or whatever else. You do you, boo. I prefer masculine, but that's just me. I prefer men who look like men, act like men, smell like men, talk like men, walk like men. That's just me. But this whole push for men to be a little more feminine has been going on for quite a while. They'd rather have feminine men than masculine men because masculine men are overbearing, according to some people. I just think that means maybe they're not dealing with women who are strong enough to deal with masculine men. Again, completely different topic. But anyway, so you would see Bruce Jenner doing all these different things. And then one day I see him with fingernails on and I was like, what is happening? And then out of nowhere, Bruce Jenner comes out and says, I want to be referred to as Caitlyn. I'm a woman trapped in a man's body, whatever else. And I talked about it yesterday. And a lot of people said they don't have a problem with Caitlyn Jenner because she, which is hard for me because to me, it's still a man. He, she, Caitlyn, we'll just say Caitlyn. That way we don't have to pronoun because your pronoun is your pronoun. I'm not going to jump on the use your pronoun train because that's not on me. That's on you. So Caitlyn Jenner came out and said, I feel like a woman trapped in a man's body and I've always felt this way, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people are okay with it because of the age, because Caitlyn Jenner had already gone through an entire life, already had the kids, wasn't trying to push this down anybody's throat. But you have to remember, it was done on national television, on a TV show that was being shown to numerous young people, girls all over the place, 18 and under, watching the Kardashians, watching Bruce Jenner transition to Caitlyn Jenner, boys watching the Kardashians because, hello, they need something to do under the covers, right? So they're watching the Kardashians and they're seeing this guy decide that he wants to be a girl and whatever else. And these are in their head. They are seeing that this is what is popular. This is what gets you a TV show. This is what's good in Hollywood. This is what the Kardashians are all about. And it starts that train of just, I don't want to say demoralized thinking, but confused thinking for a lot of people. And maybe they don't realize it because that's that subliminal programming, that subliminal propaganda that's being pushed via, what was it, E Entertainment, that TV show. Now it's Hulu, I think, that are pushing it, which Disney owns Hulu. So just in case anybody's curious there, they own Hulu and ESPN and a lot of other things, ABC. So anytime you're wanting to boycott anything, those are all Disney related, plus tons of other stuff. Anyway, so you see this happening, and like I said, I mentioned it yesterday, and a lot of people were still, again, okay with Caitlyn because of the age and because of the fact that it's not a minor. To me, you can't be okay with one and have an issue with the other. I feel like it all should be considered a mental illness. That's just my thought and opinion. You are feel free to feel however you need to about it. But my thought and opinion is no matter what age you are, whether you're 4, that's your parents telling you then, or you're 8, still your parents telling you, or you're 16, more than likely still your parents telling you, or media or whatever telling you, or you're 50 or 60 or 70, it's still a mental issue in my personal opinion. But the problem is that we have so much aimed at kids these days, trying to convince them that they want to be gay, they want to be transgender, they want to be a dog or a cat or whatever else. And it's it's extremely concerning. So for the Supreme Court to now jump into this and weigh in, I think is a big deal. So the Supreme Court will decide if states may prohibit hormones for transgender teens, all right? This came out today on Monday. Said it will hear a major case on transgender rights and decide whether states may prohibit the use of puberty blockers and other hormones for teens who suffer from gender distress. Y'all, we have got to quit giving names to every emotionally hurt person out there. We cannot continue to give names. My child asked me a couple days ago, what is ADHD? And I said, it's a name that people who make drugs gave to people who don't fall into this little box of being, calm all the time. People want to tell me I have ADHD because I'm all over the place. No, my brain just works really fast and my mouth sometimes can't keep up with it. And there's a lot of things I'm thinking about. That doesn't constitute ADHD. That constitutes me just, thinking a lot or something along those lines. But if I were to go and get tested, they're going to tell me I need drugs to calm myself down. The hell? No, I don't need drugs for anything. This is who I am and you either like it or you don't. That's pretty much how it goes. Same thing here. You have these teens who are confused about whatever, and somebody wants to put them in a box and say, oh, it's because you're transgender. Oh, it's because you're this. Here's a drug to fix that. Here's this, whatever. Why is that how we are treating kids? At 4 years old, you don't know how to tie your shoe, let alone know if you want a penis or a vagina. At 8 years old, you don't know if you like boys or girls, let alone if you want to be a boy or a girl. At 12, puberty still has not kicked in for many people. So how can you say that you want to take drugs that'll stop your boobs from growing and stop everything else because you want to be a boy as a girl or vice versa? It's not right. All right. Let's just put it out there. It is not right. There's nothing right about it because it's left. That's funny. Go to Michelle. So anyway, it's absolutely ridiculous to me that people want to have conversations, like Tom Selleck said, conversations about gun control with the same people who want to allow 6 and 7 and 8 year olds to have drugs to change their gender, which it doesn't change your gender. It just wreaks havoc on your body, but you're still a boy or you're still a girl. Your DNA is your DNA. Your bone structure is your bone structure, right? But then you also have, oh, y'all, this is what happens when I get going. I have so many thoughts going on that then I lose one of them. It just flitted away all squirrely. Where'd it go? Please hold. No, I'm going to remember what the hell I was going to say because it was important. Guess it wasn't that important because I don't remember. Okay, but look, let's just go ahead and keep moving because the train has left the building. The justices have not ruled on whether discrimination based on gender identity is unconstitutional. No. Here's the thing. Your gender is your gender. If you are being discriminated against based on your DNA, based on how you were born, that is one thing. Being discriminated against because you're a guy who puts on, makeup and tucks his penis into a dress or whatever else, that's not unconstitutional to go, hey, listen, sir, you're not allowed in this girl's locker room. Sir, you're not allowed in the girl's bathroom. Sir, you're not allowed on a girl's sports team. That's not unconstitutional. You want to tell a girl, born a girl, that she can't be on a girl's team, then we have an issue. You want to tell a boy, born a boy, that he can't be on a boy's team, then okay, we have an issue. That could be unconstitutional. You want to do it because of a skin color, because of a religion, because of anything like that, that's okay. Not okay. That is, again, something we would talk about as being unconstitutional. You want to say because a little boy thinks he's a little girl or a little girl thinks she's a little boy that telling them they can't do something is unconstitutional? Get out of here with that shit, number one. Okay, so in the past 3 years, many Republican-led states have enacted laws that forbid medical treatments intended to help youth. You hear the phrasing there? Help youths under the age 18 transition to what the measure described as a Purported identity inconsistent with the minor sex. Giving drugs to a child is not helping them in any way when it comes to changing their sex, when it comes to playing along with whatever issues are going up in their brain. I can almost guarantee, obviously I can't speak for every single person. I have not met every single transgender person out there, but I would guarantee that the majority of people who are having issues and thinking that they are meant to be something else also have had some traumatic shit happen to them in their lifetime. For Bruce Jenner, it was marrying Kris Jenner. That was his traumatic thing. Being part of that Kardashian family is traumatic AF, right? So that's probably what happened to him. Maybe there was other stuff that he's never told anybody. Plenty of people out there have gone through sexual abuse, have gone through physical abuse, verbal abuse, have been bullied, have been whatever, and they try to find solace in things. And a lot of that could be these people who go, well, as a girl, I won't get picked on by the boys like I do as a boy, so I want to be a girl today, or vice versa. I won't get picked on by the girls if I'm a boy, so today I want to be a boy, right? That makes perfect sense to them. To me, it makes sense that there's reasons behind why people want to do this to themselves, but it doesn't mean I have to go along with your delusions. It is what it is. I mean, that's what it is. It's a mental disorder, whether people want to recognize it or not. And I saw this, not TikTok, this YouTube short, Emily something America. Oh, I can't remember her name. It's a short by Emily Saves America. Can't remember. Emily something America. Y'all can Google it. Maybe you can find her. But she was in this like little round table-ish kind of thing. And there's a guy, her, and a girl. And she says, I'm not going to use your pronouns. Like, you can't make me. And the guy goes, everybody's using pronouns. No, they're not. Everybody on the left is using pronouns. And she goes, well, if that's the case, then my new pronoun is pretty princess. And I was like, ooh, girl, I like you. Because that's the thing. If we're just going to sit around and label ourselves as whatever we want and expect people to jump on board with it, you're going to have to start wearing name tags, boo-boo, because nobody's going to know what your pronoun is. If you walk in looking like a man, just because you have lipstick on, I'm going to call you sir. Now, you can staple a pronoun to your chest and tell me your pronoun is ma'am. Suddenly, I don't know how to read, just so we're all fully aware. I don't know how to read. I am blind, deaf, and dumb, and you are a sir the second I hear you. Well, I said deaf. Either way, y'all know what I'm getting at. So according to this fun little article here, the Biden administration, because that seems to be where all the wackadoodle shit has started, the ACLU and Lambda Legal urged the court to hear cases from Tennessee and Kentucky and to rule discrimination against transgender youth violates the Constitution's guarantee of equal protection of the laws. The Biden administration wants this country, okay, to legally say that 8-year-olds can have gender-affirming drugs. Also, in case anybody was wondering, you don't have to tell parents either. You don't have to tell parents if a kid is in school and they want to go by he, she, they, them, cat, dog, pretty princess, whatever. You don't have to tell the parents, because then it might be like a bad situation for the kid to go home to. How about we get back to having open communication with our families? As parents, you need to talk to your children. As children, you need to talk to your parents. That's how this works. Oh, I took a screenshot of something. Hold on. Okay, I forgot. It wasn't a screenshot. I took a picture of this thing from my book. So I'm reading Nicholas Sparks, right? True Believer. And there's this section in the book. I read this and I took a picture of it because I wanted to share it with you guys. So listen, he says, the character in the book says, my point is simply that kids turn out okay as long as parents are involved, no matter where they live. Because they're talking about the difference between living in a small town and New York City. All right, so there's that. It's not like small towns have a monopoly on values, even if it kind of feels that way sometimes. I mean, I'm sure if I did some digging, I'd find lots of kids that were in trouble here too, meaning the little town that he's in. Kids are kids no matter where they live. But the whole part that I wanted to share with you guys is, my point is simply that kids turn out okay as long as the parents are involved. I would almost bet everything that the kids who are deciding at 7 and 8 and 12 and 13 that they are the wrong sex are kids who might not have parents involved, who aren't talking to their parents, whose parents aren't asking them hard questions and, having those conversations. As a mother of a almost 15-year-old, I do know it's difficult to have those conversations because you worry that if you do the wrong thing, say the wrong thing, push too hard, it's going to affect them mentally, negatively, whatever else. We see so many things on the news and everything about teen suicide and all this other stuff that it makes it harder for parents these days to have certain conversations because social media is trying to play parent, and it takes the ability to have those conversations away from actual parents because you're fighting against whatever a TikTok trend is or whatever's on Instagram or any of this other crap. So I understand why some people may not have those conversations, but it doesn't mean it's okay. As parents, grandparents, caregivers, whatever else, friends, we have to be willing to have conversations. Without conversations, it's fucking crickets and nothing changes, nothing happens, and everything stays in this little shit pile that is turned into. You have to have conversations. So according to this, they argued that the Biden administration argued that a law targeting transgender individuals for disfavored treatment is a form of sex discrimination and should be struck down as unconstitutional. Listen, the problem here is the longer we have this administration trying to convince this country that this shit is normal, the farther down we're going to fall, down this slippery slope. Whether you are left, you are right, you're in the middle, you have to understand there is a difference between right and wrong. There's a difference between things being normal and abnormal. And for some reason, right now, this administration wants to blur the lines between right and wrong, normal and abnormal. They don't want you to see that you're being, pushed to believe in things that don't exist, that aren't real and are make-believe, and they want it to be law that if you say no to something, you're in the wrong, as opposed to saying, hey, this is a 12-year-old. Hey, this is an 8-year-old. Once you're 21, you do you, boo. Again, if you can't drive until you're 16, if they don't think you are grown enough to get behind the wheel of a car and drive at 16, why do they think you're grown enough at 12 to decide what sex you want to be? Make that part make sense. You can't enlist until you're 18, but you can change your sex and chop off your penis and get rid of your boobs when you're 14. Okay. You can't legally drink until you're 21 because it alters your mind. Alcohol messes with your brain, yet they'll give you drugs that messes with everything in your body before you're 21. What Twilight Zone crap hole are we living in? Y'all. We are grateful that transgender youth and their families will have their day in the highest court, said Tara Borelli, senior counsel at Lambda Legal. Without action from the court, these punitive categorical bans on the provision of gender-affirming care will continue to wreak havoc on the lives of transgender youth and their families. You know what wreaks havoc on youths and their families? All this transgender push. Let's just be as open and honest as humanly possible. Am I going to treat somebody like crap if they walk up to me and they're transgender? No, I'm not going to agree with it. I'm not going to call you ma'am or sir if you are not a ma'am or a sir biologically, but I'm not going to be an asshole about it. I'll just either go away or we'll have a conversation, but I don't have to have conversations that lead to mental disillusionment. I feel like I'm making up a word again, and it's not on purpose. Like in my brain, it sounds good, but I can't picture that being in Webster's dictionary. Disillusionment. It's a really long word. Anyway, I'm going to try to play it in Scrabble and see what happens. Let's see what else we have here. Blah, 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 blah. It's hard to overstate the difference that our daughter's medical treatment has made in her life and our family's life, for one who wanted to be a girl instead of a boy. Before coming out and starting to receive this medical care, she struggled to make friends, keep her grades up, or even accept hugs from her family. Now we have a confident, happy daughter who is free to be herself. I want the justices to see and understand my daughter and recognize her rights under the Constitution like any other person, and to see that if parents like me don't have the right to determine what's best for our children, then no parent does. Again, y'all. When I was 6, I wanted to live wherever Rainbow Bright lived. All right. If it had been legal for me to just, poof and go live wherever, that would have been stupid. Right. So why at 6 can I say, I don't like my friends, I don't like hugging people, and I feel really weird, and I think I need a penis because I'm tired of having a vagina? Why is that okay? And what parents out there are okay with giving in to their children at that age? Kids don't know anything at 6, at 8, at 12, at 15, at 17. Your brain doesn't stop developing until you're in your late 20s, early 30s. Why are we doing this to children? That is the problem. This is a whole new form of, wait for it, a weird pedophilia kind of thing. That's my thought. Anytime you are sexually doing something to a child, that's what that is. Changing their sex, any of this other stuff. Anytime you have the word sex and child in a sentence together, there's something wrong with you. Just putting it out there. In defense of his state's law, Tennessee's Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti. There's letters missing here. Skrmetti. Skrmetti. I don't know how you're supposed to say that. Described this as a measure to protect children from unproven medical interventions. Hello. Speaking of unproven things that were forced upon a lot of people, there have been a lot of adverse reactions to said unproven medical things, especially in children in the last year or two. So I'm just reminding people that you just never know what's going to happen when you put all these random drugs into your child's body. Okay. The American Academy of Pediatrics, joined by 21 other medical and mental health organizations, filed a friend of court brief at the Supreme Court to dispute Tennessee's contention that the hormone treatments are experimental or ineffective. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Who do you think the money goes to? Anything that is being done is they're lining their pockets with all of this money for this transgender care. That is all it comes down to. That's all it comes down to. It's not about wanting to help your kid live their best life and determine if they're a boy or a girl. It's about how much money they can put in their pocket for all the drugs they're going to cram into your child before they start snipping them. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely effing ridiculous. If the court rules next year in favor of Tennessee, the decision would probably allow all of these laws to take effect. But the decision should have no impact in California and other states that have not restricted medical care for transgender youth. California, just go ahead and cut that little thing off and shove it out into the ocean where it belongs. The Supreme Court ruled 4 years ago that discrimination against transgender employees violates the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and its bar against sex discrimination in the workplace. But the justices have not ruled on whether the Constitution or federal education laws prohibit discrimination against transgender youth or adults. Until you are 18, and one day you are a child, this needs to not even be a topic of discussion. Absolutely ridiculous to me. Absolutely, all of it is just mind-boggling to me. Look, we're going to go now. And I'm going to put a link to this article into the pinned comment. I will try to remember. I have a tendency to forget. So somebody remind me if you don't see it. And we will have another discussion on another day. But I know I'm not the only one who is just astonished by what has happened in our country. Like, you look at 1982, United States of America, and 2024 United States of America, it does not look the same, like, at all. I'm sure if you look at, 1940 to 1982, obviously doesn't look the same. But I feel like from the 40s to the 80s, maybe there were some good things that happened, getting rid of segregation and things. Big fan, thank you. But from 1980 to now, there's been some highs and there's been some lows, and now you have the pitfall of hell here with all this transgender stuff. Like, we have dipped so low that how do you get out of that? Like, how? It's already been put in all these people's ears, these kids' ears, and TV shows and movies and everything else, songs. How do you get out of this little hole that we're all in? Anyway, listen, Squirrel Tribe, I love y'all immensely. Thank you for always letting me have, that's right, these conversations with you. I appreciate it. I think it's good to have open dialogue. Again, whether we agree with each other or we don't, it's still good to have conversations. I would love your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. I don't delete them, just so you know. If you don't see it, YouTube's holding it. I let it through. The only time it doesn't get through is if you're a complete raging a-hole to somebody else in the comment section, then you're done. But I'm not going to, block people's freedom of speech on how they feel about these kind of topics, because then it wouldn't be a discussion. It would be one-sided. And that's not what we're all about over here on Squirrel Tribe. So I love y'all immensely. I will see you again tomorrow. Good night.